Everydaynerdpodcast with your man Lou P along with the lovely Joc.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the Everyday Nerd Podcast. And today we are going to talk about, obviously, the movie that a lot of people are talking about right now and a lot of people have been looking forward to. Obviously, we're talking about Captain Marvel. So
she's finally arrived.
Yes, she's arrived, and we're all happy to see her. And just a few notes going into this weekend. Of course, you know me. I always got to bring up the cha-ching about this. And so here's Marvel Studios. They're expecting this to make $455 million global, and it'll be the biggest global opening ever for a female-led movie.
Wow.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. And, okay, it's on track to open up 100. Well, now it's saying 153 domestically, second behind the opening weekend for a solo Marvel Cinematic Universe character debut of
Black Panther?
Yes. So, right behind Black Panther. So, in case you're wondering what Captain Marvel is, we'll just give you the plot here. Captain Marvel set in the 1990s and tells Carol's origin story after having her memory of Earth wiped away and with that being said, Joc, start us off.
Well, I think just overall, let's just talk about all that hype. I mean, we waited for so long for Captain Marvel to finally arrive. They've hyped up, they prepped us for Brie Larson. We saw a lot of her suit that a lot of women have already started buying on Amazon.
Now, which one?
There's a full suit, the jacket, the T-shirt. I admit I looked at a tank top. But,
nice.
But so now it finally arrives. I just have to say that I did like it. I did enjoy it. But there are some reservations that I feel because I think in a sense, I was just talking about it a little bit, is that I feel like I'm a little bit spoiled by Marvel, but I don't want to discredit it. So there were some good points, the fact that it did set it up, so that part I like. But before we even get into it, I think this is something worth mentioning, that we need to talk first about just even the tribute to Stan Lee.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that really quick because, since his passing, there's a huge mourning, and he is he developed a lot of these characters. So when you were watching the movie, what I truly felt was when they started showing, like the reel, right, of the past comics, and all of a sudden also we're seeing just so many different clips of Stan Lee in his different cameo appearances. I was like, oh, that was cool. And people in my audience, we were clapping. We were like, nice.
Yes.
Nice. What did you think when you saw that?
I was feeling the same way. I was kind of leading some of those claps also. The fact that, I'll admit this, I will kind of admit this selfishly, I was hoping they would done that for the Avengers movie, but the way I look at it, you know what? Let's do it for all Marvel movies.
I think so.
Well, let's not save it. Let's do it, because you mentioned, a lot of fans were mourning his passing, and it was classy. Very good.
It was.
Nice touch.
It was.
Classy. Very well done. And I'm glad you brought that up because you felt good automatically.
Oh, yeah.
There
was just like, oh, and then, of course, he had his cameo in the movie. But I'm just hoping that from here on out, I just would like to see Stan Lee in just that Marvel introduction.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but I just think, to me, it's proper.
I think at least for the rest of the year's movies, it'll be there.
It should.
And you know what? I think it should be. I think, we get what we're going to see. We get, if we're going to see Captain Marvel, Black Panther, whoever it is, we know who we're going to see.
And maybe they may still put Stan Lee in some of these future movies, and you can reincarnate people now.
Oh, I know.
Tupac, right? Tupac.
Holographic.
I know, right?
Stan
It's
Lee.
like, hey, there's Stan Lee right now. But I think it's just, part of just that Marvel essence to have Stan Lee in a cameo. Yes. But to have him also be part of, the intro, I just think it's cool. So I really wanted to touch on that first. But overall, I think, let's just break down the overall movie. Now, I just want to tell the viewers that, okay, you know what? We know a lot of people haven't seen this movie yet. This was just the first weekend. What we're going to do in this podcast is that we're going to first talk about, the things the viewpoints of what we've seen in the trailer, okay? And then there's going to be a countdown, doesn't say, okay, here comes, spoiler time, where it's like, turn away, turn off, walk away, pause it, and come back later.
That's where your man Lou P's going to cut loose, by the way, folks.
So we're going to do that. So then those people who haven't seen Captain Marvel can be like, oh, okay, we can still watch, guys. Because we want you to watch. So, all right, let's just start off with, like, even the beginning, the introduction. When they started off with Captain Marvel, we already see her on the ground. Like, that very first scene was of Carol Danvers on the ground, and she was already bleeding Kree blood, right? Yes. And then, next thing you know, she's already with Stargate, and she's up there. And then the training happens.
Yeah.
Right? And so
we've seen these in the trailer.
Right,
so
right.
Discussing that. In case anyone was saying, oh, why did you say that? No, we've seen this.
There was a where, Jude Law, he says, you need to control your emotions.
Yeah.
Right? And he kept saying that throughout the movie to her, you need to control your emotions. When you control your emotions, then you can do that. So I think just for me, I just want to say, regardless if you saw the trailer or not, I just want to say with Brie Larson, I felt, and I don't know, some people might say this, like, but I have to, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I was comparing her just to the other female, Marvel heroines, like Black Widow, or Scarlet Witch, or what's that lady, the general in Black Panther. But they're all strong women, and we talked about that. However, with this particular woman, I felt her strength was really reserved and restrained. I wanted kind of more emotions from her, but you could tell she's a feisty one.
Definitely.
I mean, she was feisty. No matter if the other guy says, you're weak, you're small, you shouldn't even be doing that. She still was feisty. You could see it in her eyes. She wasn't going to listen. I mean, she was still a rebel, and she was still going to just do whatever she wanted, but, she didn't care. I mean, but there was a lot up against her as far as, like, people putting her down or the men putting her down, but she was really feisty.
Very much so. And we're going to talk about it later, but just that feistiness obviously is through the whole movie. Right. And in case you haven't figured that out, you will see her being very feisty. Now, you mentioned how you felt about Brie Larson's being Captain Marvel and everything, and you're kind of comparing it to the Scarlet Witch,
or Black Widow,
and then heck, even then we could even go to a different universe, to DC, about
Wonder Woman.
Now, the way I think they wanted to present her, and maybe it's her own acting, I don't know. I understand how you feel. It seemed a little like she even though when she was down she got back up and all that, but I felt that there could have been a little more.
There was a disconnection.
Yeah, you felt a little disconnect.
There's a disconnection from like what she's saying versus what she's portraying. I kind of feel that way. It's like, even when she was kind of being like, the smart ass, and it's like, wait, was that funny? I didn't get it, So
you didn't feel that? I didn't feel it when she would.
I don't know. I didn't feel that. I want her to be more sassy.
Oh, okay.
When I think of Black Widow, I mean, she's not sassy, but man, she really shows she's badass, and she has to take charge. And I remember her, from the early days in Iron Man. But I don't know. I just felt more. But with Carol, I felt like she was holding back in a sense. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Do you think it's Brie Larson? Because look at the actresses you're talking about. You're comparing her to Scarlett Johansson. Okay, and then
it could be.
Is that it? Is it because Brie Larson? Not that we're saying Brie did a bad job.
No,
I'm saying I can't speak for you, but you're not saying she's doing a bad job. But it just felt like maybe she approached the role a little differently than what you anticipated her to do it.
I think so. Now, granted, I'm going to be really excited for Endgame. But
okay, just a little twist before we obviously start. What if she's like that in Endgame?
I don't know. See? Then I'm going to have to look at like the other characters.
Yeah, see,
like,
that's what I'm saying. If you already have
let's kickstart something.
Yeah,
here.
If you already have, and I'm going to do it in air quotes, an issue that she doesn't quite give you that and yet again, we could predict what's going to happen in Endgame, and if she's doing that same performance, and she's supposed to be the gun, and we're going to obviously talk about it later, how would you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, I'd be like, okay, but I have to say also, okay, let's give her credit, the fact that she had amnesia. Okay,
yes. So
I think that was a big part of it.
Okay,
so she had amnesia. She didn't know who she was. She didn't really know her name. She finds out, her name is really Carol Danvers, and she had this life. And all she saw was, like, bits and pieces. So I guess that's also part of what her struggle is. She doesn't know how to act because she has no reference point.
Yeah,
so maybe that's something that I had a problem with, because she couldn't portray anything of her passions because she didn't know what they were, and all she knew was just like, okay, she's being trained, by Yunrog and the Supreme Leader. So that's all she knew. And okay, now I'm thinking about it, like, hey, if that's all I knew, well, then what would I think is funny? Who would be my role models that I could emulate to say, okay, now here's a funny joke for you, when she never knew that?
Well, that's the thing. I think what they're trying to establish there, like you've mentioned, the fact that she lost her memory, but yet your natural personality comes out. If you're a smart aleck, you will always be a smart aleck,
True.
Right? So with her being a smart aleck every now and then, that's how she was. Even though she doesn't remember, like, old jokes or pranks she's pulled or whatever, you got a sense that, well, that's her natural personality. And so, again, but then, like you mentioned, with the memory loss, you got to wonder, is she like a step behind of what to do, if you know what I'm saying? Because she's being instructed what to do. This is your life. This is what you're to do. Now, in a way, I'm sure in the back of her mind, she's probably, she was, okay, this is it. It's like you and I were taught, okay, you need to brush your teeth, and the reason why is because, cavities and all that. Mm-hmm. Now, this is what's being instilled in her head.
Right.
So, again, when we get to the other side, we're going to discuss why that's a hard thing to change. And so that's why we're talking about Brie Larson and just how do you go into that, determining that, okay, you're supposed to be somebody who's this powerful person, yet you're kind of restrained, yet you listen to orders, yet you follow something, yet you're getting all these other images in your head about something.
Right.
So
then so I guess if she was then portraying that, then it's like, okay, then she did that well.
Okay, well, she did that very well.
Then she did that piece very well, because I also felt like, come on, let your hair down. Let's see something.
Now I know what you mean. Now I know what you mean. She seemed a bit.
She was held back. She was just like,
exactly. And I think, you know what? I'm going to attribute that again. Well, we'll get to the other side on this. I think there's a reason why, and we'll discuss it in the other side.
Exactly. So. Okay, so that's that piece. Now, how about what do you think overall, just from a regular overview?
Myself, just the movie without giving anything away, obviously, right now. I enjoyed it. It was solid. I was with my wife, who is not a comic person, but I just asked her in general, did you like the movie? She liked it. She found it very entertaining. Isn't it kind of ironic? It came out during International
Women's Day.
And so I asked her just offhand, I go, did you feel a little empowerment watching this movie? Did you feel... And she said yes. I said, okay. For me personally, I thought it was, I'm not going to say it's an A, but to me, it was a solid B. Because, okay, you gave me an origin, you got me lead-ups for the rest of the stories. That's what I was looking at. So it worked. And then, a few of the light moments that were in the movie. Obviously we see a young Nick Fury and a young Agent Coulson, which was kind of interesting. Now, in a sense, I got to say this, though. In case you folks didn't know, yes, Agent Coulson is in this movie. And if you didn't know that, you should have saw the trailer. And come on, I'm not giving anything away with that. But let me ask you, I know they put Coulson in for continuity and for the timeline. I get all that.
Yeah.
Do you think his character was really necessary? As much as I love Phil Coulson, I love
Was
Phil
it
Coulson.
necessary?
I mean,
more. I would say it was more of an accessory.
Exactly.
Not
it's
a
like,
necessity,
okay, these
but
are the
a
rims
necessary.
on my car.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. I think
his character wasn't essential.
No, but in a sense, when I say accessory, I'm actually thinking now, it gives Nick Fury history, right? Because then when I'm thinking about it now, it's like, okay, these are the two guys. It looks like they were partners back then, or no, he was even the new guy.
He was the rookie.
He was the rookie, and you know, he let Nick go, you know, and Carol go in one scene, but the thing is, you know, when we think about like the future, the future Marvel movies or Avengers movies, you know, he looked like he was experienced. Well, it's because he's been hanging around Fury a lot.
Exactly.
so in a sense, you know, it's like, okay, I think it was just to show that they go way back.
Okay. I'm with you. And you know, you kind of want to do the whole, hey, there's Phil Coulson type of thing in the 90s.
Right.
And I liked it. And, and the part that, of course, I like, being that I'm an 80s child, grew up in the 80s and 90s, all the 90s references.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad that brought up.
You would love to talk about this part.
I saw a lot of old tech.
Yeah, exactly.
Old tech. I saw a lot of old tech.
I think they were consistent in the time that it was 1995.
Yeah. Even like the music. I heard TLC in there. I heard En Vogue.
Everything.
What was it, Scrubs or Waterfall? Or
I think it was Waterfall. It was Waterfall. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I believe it was Waterfall. We heard.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, I don't want no Scrubs. Would it be appropriate?
So it was Waterfall. Yeah, I believe. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah. No, but I remember, and like the flannel. It's like,
exactly.
Take that flannel off.
Look, you know, the look and...
But but it was old tech because it's like, you know, that fingerprint and like when they went, and I'm just gonna say that's not a very big thing. Yeah. Anyways, it's just a little detail. It's really not a spoiler.
Yeah.
But you know, when they drove up to that gate, it's like you see the webcam.
Oh yeah.
And then you see, you know, his fingerprint. And I thought that was just pretty funny.
Yeah, it's just the old tech and everything like
or
that.
even the computer. And it's like, and she's like, "What are we waiting for?" It's like, it's what do you say? It's processing right now.
Yeah, exactly. They're all saying that.
What was that, in 95?
It was it's Windows 95 that they're using. And you know, again, not to give, it's just a little minor detail, a little comedic deal. I mean, again, we're talking about the traders. She crashes in the Blockbuster.
And we now know, if anyone saw that article, the only Blockbuster store left is in Oregon.
Yes.
So did this happen in Oregon?
Did they film there?
It's so funny because she even said there was a part where she said, "Okay, where can I find your communication equipment?" And it's like Radio Shack.
Yeah, the guy just points like right there, and there's Radio Shack, which, if some of you are looking for the local Radio Shack, you will not find anymore.
Which is probably in Oregon.
Exactly. But yeah, and obviously the best was the Internet Cafe too. You know, I know some of you folks that were watching it, you're seeing that. You all had a smile on your face because if you lived through the 90s on AOL, that distinctive sound, you all experienced it. And when you saw that, you had to have like a little warm feeling or a smile like, oh, man, I remember doing that. So that scene was pretty awesome. The 90s references, they were consistent. I liked it. It was good. They kept it to the 90s, which was good. Yeah.
So. That was, I really noticed it. It's like, hey, this is all low tech. Or at least it was high tech back then. But it was just funny. And when, you know, there's a scene where, you know, Fury and Captain Marvel, and, you know, they've been detained. And Nick goes through all this, you know, to get a fingerprint.
Exactly.
When in fact all she had to do was blast it, and he even said, "You knew you could do that, but you let me go through all that work." And she goes, "Yeah, I was, you know, I was entertained."
Yeah, exactly. So they were that bored.
All right, so I think we are ready to go to our spoilers.
Yes.
Right? I can't think of. I mean, yeah. Oh wait. Let's talk about first that train fight.
Okay.
You know, in that spoiler. You know, they really showed that when, you know, they're on the train and Bree is looking for that old lady and that battle. Let's just talk about how she just battles, how they just battled on that scene.
Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting about the scene. So you already saw in the trailer that Brie Larson is punching an old lady.
Yeah.
Okay. So immediately people are up in arms because if you don't know the background of the characters, you're like, what is she doing beating up an old lady? What's great about that scene is, though, you notice everybody was helping the old lady, though.
Yes.
Because if you're on a train and you see some old lady getting her butt kicked by some younging, you obviously want to help that old lady out. See, so I loved how you saw the people grab Captain Marvel or actually, grab Bree, grab her and just like, no, you're not going to be beating up this old lady. And I just liked that because it showed what people would actually, hopefully, I'm saying hopefully, people do in a situation if you're seeing an old lady get beat up on a train. If we're in the Bay Area, if you're riding BART and you see an old lady getting beat up like that,
and she said by a lady wearing a laser tag outfit.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's what I liked about that fight scene. And yeah, it was interesting that all of a sudden you're seeing this fight scene. If you're just seeing the trailer and don't know the background story, you're like, why is she beating up an old lady? But then the second trailer, the second trailer, you saw the old lady fighting back. Though.
Right.
See, so that kind of gave you a clue later on when you saw the second trailer.
Yeah.
But the fight, excellent fight scene, and
I thought she did really good with her stunts.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I thought she did really good with her stunts. It was cool, but I also liked the fact that everyone kept looking at her like
she was crazy. Yeah, exactly. And let's be honest. The funny thing about a situation like that, I stopped to think if I was on BART and saw all that going down, I get out of the train and I see her. What am I'll be honest. I'm walking the other way. I am walking the other way. Because I'm like, man, this lady was throwing down with an old lady, and oh, man. And
it was cool.
Yeah, I would definitely go the other way, and maybe, I probably would tell BART police, like, hey, the lady in the laser tag outfit over there, yeah, you might want to.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Exactly.
So I think before we go into the spoilers thing, is like, I think overall for those who haven't seen it, it's like, yes, go watch it. It's entertaining and it gives entertainment value and you get to know the backstory and it will help set you up for the movie. But now we're going to go into spoilers. So be warned. We have warned you all.
Yeah.
And go.
All right. So we're in the spoiler section now. And now we cut loose. We mentioned Stan Lee.
Yes.
I have to mention this.
What?
So his cameo. Do you know what he was doing in his cameo?
He was just sitting reading a paper.
He was reading his lines for the movie Mallrats.
What?
Which came out in the 90s.
Oh, I never noticed that.
You see the script,
so that's why they said,
Mallrats.
No, I just saw him. See, I didn't play too much details to what I was reading, but now I know why there was the shout-out to Kevin Smith.
Exactly.
Oh.
So he was reading his lines from Mallrats. And I totally loved it.
Oh, so that means he was going to go do the movie Mallrats.
Exactly.
Oh,
see, so that's
cool.
what I love. That's why going back to the whole 90s stuff, they stayed consistent with that. He was reading his lines from Mallrats, and I loved it. I totally loved it when I saw that. I said,
I didn't even pick that up. I was like, because I saw it, I'm like, what are they talking about? I don't remember what
that was, to me, I was like, I was pumped up when I saw that.
Okay.
So that's definitely, that's definitely something going back to the tribute to Stan Lee that I loved.
Okay.
His cameo was solid in this one.
Okay.
So now that we're talking spoilers and we could talk about things like that, obviously this is going to lead us into the Avengers Endgame. So you could kind of figure out that at the end of all this, in the movie, actually, her name is Veers. Veers. They call her Veers because they found part of her dog tag, which cut off her last name, which is Danvers. And later on, we see in the movie the rest of her dog tag is found by her friend, which says the name Carol. So she starts to understand what her real name is.
Right.
So she's been called Veers this whole movie because of what they saw on the piece of the dog tag. Thus, they were calling her that. Also, the fact that in the movie, you're thinking the Krees are the good guys.
Right.
Now, here's the hint for you. If you all saw Guardians of the Galaxy, you would understand that the Kree weren't exactly the good guys, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know a lot of folks right now are in the comment section going, well, the Skrulls did this, the Skrull invasion. I love that storyline, too, in the comics. But again, I will preface this by saying we are strictly doing MCU. We are not doing leading comic stuff. No, we can't do that. We're strictly staying MCU, because if we were bringing in comics, the Fantastic Four would have been here. Okay, so strictly MCU. The Skrulls are basically on the run from the Kree. The Kree are hunting them down. You have Ronan the Destroyer in this movie. So that should have been your hint. And when you're watching this movie and you go, wait a minute, I've seen that guy before, the guy with the big sledgehammer and
black lace.
And his name is Ronan the Destroyer. So that tells you something there.
Right.
So,
well, it's also interesting now we could talk about it, is that let's talk about the Supreme Intelligence and how that plays. Because when we find out, it's like we see, even in the beginning part, she was like hooked up to Supreme Intelligence. I guess she had to be hooked up, and it's an AI. And that Supreme Intelligence takes the image of someone you greatly admire. So she had to piece together, like, who is that person? Who is that person? And then find out what the name was. Lawson, right? It was Lawson. So what we end up finding out is that through those memories, they find out that actually Lawson wasn't really Lawson. It was Mar-Vell. And throughout this whole time, like the predictions, you know, with these different articles leading up for Captain Marvel, they've been saying that Jude Law was Mar-Vell, right? The original Captain Marvel. But it was Mar-Vell. But in fact, it was a woman. And so here she is. So, you know, those with the storyline, just follow along, is that, you know, she comes on this earth and she then finds, you know, these scientists, because she's trying to find a way to help the Skrulls, because she feels really bad at what her race, you know, what they're doing. So
she figured out what her race was doing.
To the Skrulls, so she felt really bad. And so, but she finds these scientists that are actually working on something that she thinks, okay, I can then create this, was it a really fast light
speed of light engine?
Yeah, speed of light engine, which was actually from the Tesseract. So here for the Tesseract, you know, that we've learned from the different other Marvel's movies, whether it be Thor or Captain America, you know, the Avengers, the Tesseract is in the story. And then when Thanos gets it, you know, in Avengers, it becomes the Space Stone. So it's really interesting that now it's like, okay, you know, and we find out she's really Mar-Vell. And she has actually this secret laboratory that's in space. So it's been really cool to even have that twist that, I thought, so that's Mar-Vell. Okay. Yeah.
So and by all this, okay, so we're going to discuss, obviously, the Tesseract. This is the big, I read an interesting article, and I know a lot of you folks out there who have seen this movie are saying the same thing as me. I am, you know, Mr., you know, you want to follow the timeline, you want to do consistency. You're all trying to figure out right now, how is it the Tesseract is showing up in 1995?
Right.
When we were first told it was, you know, with the Red Skull, who dropped it
into the water.
Howard Stark
found it.
Then all of a sudden later on, we see it coming up somewhere else, you know, and that's the thing. So if you look at the history of the Tesseract right now, okay, we first see it, obviously, in Captain America, the first Avenger. We see it there.
Yeah.
Then we see it actually in the Avengers. Loki steals it from S.H.I.E.L.D. And
then Thor brings it back to Odin.
They bring it back to Odin. You see it it's up in Asgard.
Right.
So the Tesseract ends up in Asgard. Then all of a sudden the Tesseract gets stolen again by Loki in the third Thor movie, and then Thanos gets it.
Right.
So everyone's wondering, how in the heck is the Tesseract on Earth in 1995? Well, a lot of theories out there. I kind of came up with one in my head, but I think somebody wrote an article about it. My thinking is this. Now, Dr. Larson, okay, who is, as we all know, is actually Mar-Vell. I have to say, they might have to reveal it, because somewhere along the line, somebody from Marvel doing this had to have known, wait a minute, we're a little off on the timeline here, or we're kind of doing something off here a little bit. Now, I'm thinking this is what's going to be revealed later on, that Dr. Larson was doing work with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Howard Stark.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right,
so,
because actually, when Howard Stark, that is true, because when she came to Earth, it was a while back, and I did read this. So Howard Stark was one of the scientists in the Pegasus Project.
Exactly.
So this was the Pegasus Project. He was one of them. So she, in fact, was working with Stark to know about the power of the Tesseract. That is true.
So there it is. So we'll go with that. We're going to have to go with that because, folks, I know some of you might be pulling your hair. I have no hair to pull. But when you saw that, you're like, okay, that's cool. It's the Tesseract and all, but what's it doing there?
Right.
You know, it's like, wait, how did it get there? So a lot of you who were following the movies chronologically, you're like, wait a minute. Unless, again, this is supposed to be a prequel to when you first see Nick Fury show up in Tony
Iron
Stark's.
Man. Exactly.
Yeah, this is a prequel.
It is.
So,
it is. Actually, it is. Because at the end of the movie, he was writing, was it the Protective Initiative?
Yeah, and then he changed it.
And then he changed it because he saw the plane for that picture. And I actually didn't catch this. My husband, I'm like, really? I didn't see that.
You didn't catch that.
I didn't see the words. I'm like, what?
It
It must be so small I can't even see.
But
it's the Avengers. So that's because he wrote, the description is to find other people like her to help protect the Earth from all these beings.
Yes. So, again, for those of you like myself who are pulling your hair out about the Tesseract, that we will go with that answer.
Yes.
That somehow Dr. Larson worked with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
And that's how the Tesseract got through that way.
Right.
Obviously, we mentioned that that's how Carol Danvers got her powers.
Right.
When she wanted to shoot the engine, which actually was the Tesseract, exploded.
Had the powers of the Tesseract.
That's how Carol Danvers became Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Because of the power of the Tesseract.
Right.
Bam. So just for some of you folks are wondering, well, how is she? That's how she did it.
Right.
And obviously, you're listening to us, you know that. All right. So we're just going through basic stuff. But that's one part I wanted to mention, the fact that I know all of you were talking about the Tesseract. You were all talking about the Tesseract. So we find out, actually, that the Skrulls are the ones on the run. They're the refugees. They're being hunted down by the Kree.
Yep.
See, and again, like I said, we talked about Ronan and his crew. You should have figured it out. In case you didn't figure it out, without, again, obviously folks that read comics kind of had an inside track on that. But if you saw Guardians and a lot of the hints kind of showed you that the Kree weren't exactly honest with what you were seeing in the beginning. So.
Yeah. No, I thought it was really cool because when she talked about the coordinates, that's the whole reason why. And spoiler, Jude Law, Yun-Rog, he's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. His mission was initially when they first found Carol Danvers. When they first found Carol Danvers, she was on the ground. But initially, when he went there, his mission was to actually kill Mar-Vell because she had the coordinates and she had information about the Tesseract. And I think maybe there was much more to it, but I think the Tesseract was a big reason why they were hunting her down. I think so. Or also for the fact that she was betraying the race. So it could be a sense of treason. But as far as like those coordinates that she remembers, it's because of the special, that hidden space, her lab. And in fact, that was a place that she held, in secrecy, the refugees, like the Skrull refugees. So when it came to that one particular one, he was like, it was because his family was there. His wife was there. His child was there. So then they were there.
Oh, yeah. So. And
then we found the Tesseract actually hidden in the laboratory. And then for it to be transported, they put it in a Fawn's
a Happy Days lunchbox.
Yes.
That's so cool. Yes.
Yes.
So, Talos and his family were up there. And it was interesting how Talos had to break it to Carol that you basically have been lied to.
Right.
He took a gamble on telling her, no, this is what's really going on here. And again, like what we talked about, if you've been programmed that these guys are evil, these guys we need to destroy, all of a sudden somebody from that side is telling you, no, the people that have been telling you, they're the ones that are the destroyers. That's kind of hard. That's a rough thing to do. And yet she followed through with the help with her friend Maria.
Friend, yeah,
her friend Maria and her daughter. They kind of
they actually had the CD.
Yes.
Of the black box.
Exactly. And when she heard that, she's like, okay, yeah, there's something. And her memories came back. And obviously that scene with the black box, very critical to the movie. You saw it all laid out. You saw how she got her power, and you saw why she was being chased. And you saw why Jan Rog took her.
Right.
Because he noticed that power was in her.
Right.
So he's like, you know what? Let's take her. But
as our weapon.
Exactly. Becomes a weapon.
Yep. Now,
we could, I'm thinking about, like, getting a little deep on all this part right here. So, if you got, obviously at this point you've seen the movie. So, and we've talked about it earlier, just the fact of empowering women is in this movie. And you and I talked about this, and the two scenes that come to mind is the beginning scene, what we talked about, the training, how Jan Rog, Jude Law's character,
you gotta control your emotions.
You gotta control your emotions. I'm teaching you, I'm superior. Then towards the end of the movie, they're going heads up, and he's telling her, no, I don't want to see any laser shows. You need to prove to me. Right. And what'd she do? She just blasts him.
Before that even happened, let's just make mention, when they supposedly caught her, because they said, what we gave you, we could take away, and it was that thing
exactly, that was
in the back of her neck, and she was like, where's my power? And then they had her hooked up to see the Supreme Intelligence, right?
Yes.
But then during that time, like you said, her memories came back, and then that point that, I want to make mention is that, all those scenes that the men or whoever was telling her you're weak,
yes,
you fall down and everyone's laughing at her. And what really got to me was that for each of that, she stood up.
Yes.
She stood up. Even if she fell, even if she crashed, she still stood back up. And there was Jan Rog seeing that, like, hey, something's different's happening to her. Because she's then, she's overcoming, like you said, she's overcoming whatever she's been brainwashed to. And I think when she starts developing her own powers, it's just from the powers of the Tesseract. I think that was just her herself.
Exactly.
So maybe they were just trying to control that power.
Control the power, and you have a combination of you developing powers and having that desire and will inside you, that courage, that strength, that inner strength. And like you mentioned, they were saying how we could take the power away, but no, all the falls, and she got back up. And again, I cannot stress this scene. So the final, the confrontation when he's trying to challenge her, she blasts him. And she basically takes him, sends a message that, hey, this ain't going to happen anymore. But what I found, just me personally, maybe I'm off base on this, but I thought it was symbolic to the fact that she showed him that, one, you can't dictate to me. Two, I am stronger than you.
Yep.
So, no, I can do the laser blast. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
See, so to me, that's kind of the symbolism for women that, hey, we are strong too. There's so many things we can do. We are strong inside. You guys have been always saying all that stuff, keeping us down. You should be strong. You're weak, Danvers.
She stood up.
You hear that.
She stood up.
And that part, I immediately picked up. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but I think for the women out there, I picked it up real quick that was symbolic that, because he's demanding her that she has to prove it to him.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
She
like,
just
I don't have to.
like,
I don't have to prove
nothing.
I don't have to prove anything
exactly.
anymore.
So that was
cool.
That was excellent.
And also, she showed restraint. I mean, she could have killed him right then and there, but she put him back in that ship and said, "You're going back with the message." And when she was like doing that final battle, which I thought was really cool, because now we get to see her in her full essence, and she's up in space. Mm-hmm. She's actually that light force, that light speed, where she can go up in space, and she's battling all those spaceships and stuff. And then you see her, challenging Ronan, because they're about to go for her, and they realize, whoa, she is very capable. And they stand down. They just stand down. So again, she was just showing her full essence, which I thought was really, really cool. Seeing her up in space, I thought to me that was the best part, was actually seeing her just total galactic cosmo. I loved it.
So do you think then, for you now, because the restrictions are off...
Much better.
See? There you go. There you go. So maybe it wasn't Bree.
I've come full circle.
Maybe it wasn't Bree the whole time.
I've come full circle. That's the girl I want to...
Okay, see,
that's
so there
who
it is.
I want to emulate.
Okay, well, there you go. So just in final closing on our thoughts in this movie, I'll say this. We'll have Josh finish up, but I'll say this, that I thought it was a solid movie. Solid setup for, obviously, the next movie, which we will talk about. A solid setup for the next movie. And wasn't like ooh. I wasn't like totally impressed like Joss was feeling, but I was okay. Give me a good set. It was decent, good setup, entertaining. It's getting me through the next one. You gave me my Marvel fix. Okay, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Till April. We're good.
Yeah.
Josh, your thoughts?
No, I think overall now that we said yes, she's free, and I think maybe I was triggered for the fact that it's like, come on, give it to me, you know, just show them who you are.
Yes.
Maybe that was just me being impatient. Like, come on, I know you got it in here.
Yeah.
Show it. Just speak your mind, kind of feeling. So okay, I think that I admit.
Well, think about the previous female characters we were talking about. They weren't, quote-unquote, restricted.
They weren't as restricted because they did whatever. So here she is. But I think for the fact that, I think that was the trigger point where, she took that off. She had her full power. And now I feel like, okay, she's going to bring it. And that's the character that I always am drawn to, as far as it being female. It's like, you're going to bring it. I love that. So, I mean, so I think in that sense, to me, it really hyped me up for the end game.
Yes. So, speaking of end game.
Okay, so then real quick, I'm going to tell you viewers what we're going to do. We're going to end this one right here because we want to talk a little bit more about the mid-credit and how this is going to then tie into our new predictions about Endgame. I mean, that's going to be a 3-hour movie, so we need to give it its own video. But in the meantime, if you just want to stop right here, I'll let you know where we can find us. We are the Everyday Nerd Podcast team. We've got a website coming out, which we are going to share. It's called Everydaynerdpodcast.com. Shout out to Jesse.
Yep.
Hey, our designer.
Yeah.
He's our silent partner.
Yes.
So we're silent about it. Okay. But yes, you can follow us there. And then we have a Twitter, and I believe it's Everyday Nerd Podcast. What the hell is that? It's just at Everyday Nerd Podcast.
Yeah. Just find us on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, well, find
Everyday
us on
Nerd
Twitter
Podcast.
and Facebook. And
yes.
There we are. And then you can, if you want to follow me, I've got my Instagram and my YouTube channel, Jocelyn RP. It's entertaining.
There you go.
All right. So we're going to stop here. We're going to fade out.
Mm-hmm.
See you later, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay.